You're listening to the E2C Network, podcast by Auburn fans for Auburn fans.
War Eagle Auburn fans, and welcome to TRAX, your source for Auburn track and field and cross-country news and discussion. I'm your host, Jessica Loomis, and I'm here with my husband and amazing co-host, Kyle, to discuss the Florida Relays in Gainesville, Florida, April 2nd and 3rd.
What do you want? What do you want?
I wanted you to do a good job on the podcast, but clearly we are failing to begin with.
No. I'm just suspicious of why you called me amazing. Usually that means you want something.
Usually means I want to be left alone, so...
So you think by giving me compliments means that I'll leave you alone?
Yep.
Well, I guess that's the key to marriage, right? Give each other compliments and then leave each other alone.
That's exactly right. So tell me this, Kyle. This is called the Florida Relays.
Sure.
There were 2 relay events in the whole thing.
Yeah.
That's it.
I think I broached this topic with you last time
That's
about
annoying.
how they call the event about relays, but basically it's got a lot more than just relays.
It has everything but relays. So back in my day, when it was called a relay...
How long ago was that?
Oh, God, let's not talk about that. Back in my day, when it was called a relay, they only had field events and relays. There were no open anythings. The 4x100, the 4x200, the 4x400, the 4x800, 4 by a mile. That was absolute torture. Who wants to watch 4 by a mile? Literally no one. Distance medley relay, sprint medley relay, blah-de-blah-de-blah.
Well, this is her TED Talk today, apparently, about the things that she hates from back in her day.
4 by 1 mile. Whoever created that, you are evil.
Along with the steeplechase.
No, I'm not mad at steeplechase.
Jumping into water and then over a hurdle, like that's just messed up. Or over the hurdle into water.
I was going to say, wait a minute.
Had it backwards.
But no, the 400 meter hurdles.
Yeah, that's
You're
pretty
evil.
awful. That's pretty awful as well. Anyway, I think probably, I'm just guessing here. I have no context whatsoever to assume this, just trying to maybe take this logical route. Potentially that's how this event began, as only relays, and it's kind of a historic, as pin relays. It's more than just the relays, but that's what they're known for. So maybe it's just the Florida Relays, it's how it began, and now it's just become, well, it's our historical name, so we're going to keep it.
Nobody asked you to bring logic to this show.
Listen, you know that's what I do here. I don't bring a lot to the table.
That's true.
Logic is something that I can do, even though sometimes my logic doesn't make sense. To me, it does.
Okay, fair. Well, do you want to start us off with some meat highlights? We had a lot.
We did actually have a lot. I was surprised. We were checking social media throughout the weekend, on a very chilly weekend, first of all, and I was envious of our track and field team being down in Florida, and further down in Florida for that matter, as opposed to they were at Florida State last week, and then they were down in Gainesville.
Yep.
So probably a lot nicer weather than we were experiencing here.
The pictures looked really nice.
Absolutely did. So jealous of them. But the highlights we'll start off with. Presley Weems broke the women's 1500 meter, but also the 800 meter school record. She posted the nation's top time for the 1500 meter. The previous Auburn record for the 1500 was set by Rachel Sauter in 1996 with a time of 4 minutes 17.81 seconds. Presley, however, finished in 4 minutes 14.35 seconds. So 3+
almost
seconds
3.5 seconds faster.
So give some context here for people who aren't track. Is that a significant increase, or is it just kind of one of those things where she just
No, that's pretty significant.
Okay. I figured it was, but
especially since, think, Kyle, this record has been held for what? 25 years.
And I guess that's why
that was good math.
You weren't so convinced about that. That's why I asked the question, because when a record's been held for that long, you don't anticipate when someone beats it for it to be beaten to that extent. So
right. Do you think, was it even on her radar? Hey, what's the Auburn school record? It probably wasn't even in her mind. And then, bam, she just blew it away.
I know it was on the SID, the Sports Information Director's minds, because they keep track of that type of stuff. But probably
they
her.
Keep track.
Oh
of
God!
It?
Oh no! She did. That's my role. Why are you? See, I brought logic to the table, and now you're taking my jokes. This is just a weird episode.
I thought that was funny.
It's all right. All right, I'm going to talk about Kylie too.
Hit me.
Kylie won the women's javelin. Of course. Her mark of 57.38 meters is the 3rd best nationally and the 2nd best in school history. Already breaking stuff that just think about that. She was already great 2 years ago. Right. She's still breaking her own records.
Yep, that's it. That is what's very weird is she's not beating anybody else. She's just beating herself.
At this point. We also had Maddie Malone, who won the women's hammer throw. Ashley Carter placed 3rd in the javelin for a bronze medal. Kamaya Dindi won her first collegiate event in the women's...
What?
Collegiate
What?
Collegiate?
Collegiate.
Collegiate.
No!
This is not grammar police over
It's
here.
collegiate. Look how it's spelled.
I'm going to say it. Collegiate
That's wrong!
event in
You're
the
such a
women.
ding-dong. That's why you don't win any gold medals.
Collegiate event in the women's
Oh,
high
gosh.
jump with a PR for her as well. Kate Antonucci threw a PR in the javelin with a mark of 73.46 meters. And then Dustin Brown got a PR with the 3,000 meter run with a time of 8 minutes, 24.75 seconds. So plenty of highlights. You know, there used to be a time where we might have like one highlight,
Two highlights.
maybe a third if we were lucky. Now we've got like first and second galore and PRs
Yeah.
galore. This is just a great time to be following track and field.
It's a great time to be alive.
Oh my gosh. You're just being real corny tonight.
Because you're not being. And I've got to counteract your collegiate, which is incorrect.
Springs in the air. Things are getting weird around here. even on this show.
Okay, let's start off with all the results. So this wasn't the biggest meet for Auburn. We didn't bring everybody and we didn't have somebody in every event. But
Did
we do
you
have
look
quite
at
a
the
few.
amount of people we have to talk about? I think we've got plenty.
We do, but there are quite a few events that we did not compete in
Okay.
as well.
All right.
So, starting off with the men's 100-meter dash, we had Christopher Grant place 6th out of 22 with a time of 10.51 seconds. That's actually his first time competing this season
He had
in
to take
outdoor.
he had to take a break from because he did so well in indoor.
That's exactly right. Then we had Jason Reese placing 9th with a time of 10.68 seconds. The men's 200-meter dash, twice as far. We had Dante Brown placing 6th out of 33 competitors with a time of 20.72 seconds. His first competition in the 200-meter and outdoor, which is interesting. Then Brandon Smiley placing 9th with a time of 21.01 seconds, and Jason Reese placing 28th in 21.72 seconds.
Dante also had to take time off because he was just smoking it in indoor.
That's
He's
it.
like, I can take the first two off, and then, or maybe the events were just available to him. Well, they technically would be because Brandon competed in the very first one when we were back in Auburn.
But nobody competed in the 200 at FSU.
That's,
so
which is really interesting.
who knows?
I don't know. All right, we'll move on to the 400-meter dash. Malik Medavir, 21st out of 26 competitors with his time of 48.47 seconds. The men's 800-meter, 2 competitors. Eric Brown got 4th out of 16, just outside of the podium, with a run of 1 minute 49.9 seconds, followed up by Evan Rogers, very familiar name for us, 11th out of 16 with a time of 1 minute 54.9 seconds.
Moving on to the men's 1500, we have Silas Kipnitik with a 3-minute 52.2 second finish for an 11th place out of 29 competitors, followed immediately by Tommy McDonough placing 12th in 3 minutes 52.5 seconds. And Ryan Kinane placing 14th in 3 minutes 53.7 seconds. So literally within a minute and a half of each other, all 3 Auburn competitors finished.
Yeah, and you talk a lot about some. Well, this is still a shorter distance when you consider
4 laps around the track.
it's not a dash, but
It's definitely not a dash. It is true middle distance.
So is this something where you typically want to utilize that pack kind of running together thing at the start at least, or is
I mean, to be fair, there were only... Oh, no, there were 29 competitors. That's quite a few.
it's one of the bigger events.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not real sure. Cross country is really where you want the pack. I don't know about track and
Doesn't
field.
really translate over to
Not necessarily.
the tracks. Yeah, okay.
Nah. Now the long distance men's 3,000 meter. Here's where Kyle mentioned Dustin Lewis placing 2nd. There were only 6 competitors with a time of 8 minutes 24.8 seconds. So nice PR for him. Silas Kipnitik placing 3rd, 8 minutes 26.1 seconds, and Carson Beddix placing 5th in 8 minutes 31.2 seconds.
You didn't mention my boy Silas getting on the podium in the highlights of this. I think that's a highlight right there.
Excuse me. Good job, Silas.
2nd and 3rd in the 3,000 meter. I love
Yes.
it. And again, very close together here. You like seeing that group that's representing Auburn.
I just really like that Auburn represented half of the men that competed in the
That's
3,000
true.
meter.
It's I don't know what to think about that.
I think there were 2 either Florida or Florida State runners, and like one Clemson. It's like, and everybody's Auburn.
You should, would hope that Florida, being the host site, would pretty much have everybody there.
Well, you don't always. That's not always the case.
I know, but
we hosted a lot of track and field, meets, and we didn't have a javelin thrower, or we didn't have a pole vaulter.
What's funny about this is that you opened this up by saying that there's a smaller amount of Auburn athletes and smaller events at this meet. but we're seeing already a ton of people with their first time competing this season, in outdoor season specifically, which is pretty interesting.
It's kind of awesome.
It is. And, what a great weekend to get started out there in some great weather down in Florida.
Absolutely.
All right, I'll take the relay stuff from Jessica. The men's 4x100. The runners for this were in the order: Brandon Smiley, Christopher Grant, Giovanni Murray, and Dante Brown, bringing up the back end there. They got third out of 7. That's something to celebrate. 39.89 seconds. I got that wrong. 38.89 seconds. So it's a little bit slower than they had gotten previously. And I can't remember if this was the exact team or not.
It's actually not. So they traded out Giovanni Murray and Dante Brown. They traded their legs. And I want to say the second, I don't think Christopher Grant was in it before. Here's my 2 cents on it. And nobody's going to like my opinion on this. So if my soapbox...
Hot take coming up.
As I say, if my soapbox rattles you, just fast forward whatever we do on podcasts. Hit that fast button, move along. When you make a relay team, this is my thing. You need to set your relay team. You need to set it with the positions and really not deviate from it from the beginning.
So you think there was too much deviation?
I think there's too much deviation because the more deviation you have, the less time you have to practice your handoffs and the more opportunity you have to screw it up. Handoffs are literally everything in the 4x1.
In the coach's defense, do you think that this is not a event that we feel very strong in for the men, and that's why they're willing to risk that?
I also think that it is probably too early in the season for them to have known how well some of these competitors would do, which is fair. But I also think there's a lot to be said about sticking with your relay team and riding it out to the end. Because if you don't practice those handoffs over and over, like, if you play basketball and you shoot free throws from that line, like 100 a day or something.
Sure.
That's about how you need to treat a handoff.
Okay, fair point.
Because if you mess up that handoff, you're done. Especially, when I tell you, Kyle, especially the 4x1, if you make even a split-second error, you are done.
Well, that's a fair point. So now the basketball people they're listening to this, have something to kind of connect with on that.
Right.
It's a good analogy. Look at you with dropping the free throw reference in here.
I can give you lots of them. Think of it like a penalty shot in soccer or a corner kick or...
All right, I don't know. Yeah, I think the more you give, the worse it might get. You were on point, though.
Spiking the ball in volleyball.
Nope, that's enough.
Okay,
that'll do.
next.
Here, I'll finish out all the running events before you move on into the jumping events.
We're done with the run-ins.
Well, technically, we call this a run still, even though they jump boat. The men's 110-meter hurdles, one competitor, John Murray, 15 out of 17 competitors with a time of 15.43 seconds. The men's 400-meter hurdles, Malik Medavir, 4th out of 17, just missed the podium with a time of 50.37 seconds.
Yeah, awesome. Anybody that can do hurdles, you're good in my book.
Hey Auburn family, we're going to take a quick breather from this episode to bring you an important message. One of the most well-known things about Auburn fans is how loyal they are, and we show that loyalty by the colors that we wear. Let us help you stock up on those colors by going over to our tpublic.com store. There you'll find a variety of merchandise geared towards designs based on E2C Network and Auburn content. While TeePublic is known for their t-shirts, they have a wide selection of merchandise options for you to select one of these designs to be put on. They also have other types of apparel, stickers, mugs, and much more. Here's the beauty of it. Your purchase will help support this network and the content that we regularly produce. The purchase will also go to support independent artists who put a lot of hard work into designing these concepts, especially for you, the Auburn family. And did I mention that they regularly have sales? T-shirts for $13? You have to be kidding me. If you're ready to explore your purchase options, head on over to tpublic.com/store/E2C Network. You can also get there by going to our website at e2cnetwork.com/support. Now that you've got some options to suit up for game day, let's head back into this episode.
Men's high jump, we had TJ Funches, our one Auburn high jumper. He placed 9th out of 9 competitors with a jump of 2.05 meters. So right in the middle, about where he's jumped. Last week he had a great jump of 2.12, so hoping to see that from him again. In the men's pole vault, one competitor, Matthew Asplund, placing 5th out of 8 competitors with a vault of 4.7 meters. And for him, right in the middle.
Right in the middle. It's funny that both of these guys in both of these events had a, their first one was their best. Their second one was not so great. And now they've kind of followed back into the middle of that.
Yeah.
Finding a sweet spot for them, but they at least have a mark to keep pushing themselves to from that second meet.
You got it.
All right, let's talk about some throwing things because I love to throw things. The men's shot put, Adam Strouff, 5th out of 11th with a throw of 18.17 meters. That is his best throw of the season.
By a lot.
That's a lot. Even I knew that was a lot.
Well, his last one was 17.26 meters. This is very significant.
It was very, very good.
And if we knew the metric system, we'd know exactly how far that was.
That pesky metric system.
The pesky meske.
All right, men's hammer throw before I mess up anything else. We've got a bunch of Kyles here, which I love to talk about. Kyles and Kylies, they just read
my.
Kyle Brown, 6th out of 15 with a throw of 65.08 meters. Kyle Moisen, 8th out of 15 with a throw of 59.38 meters. And Eric Ebel bringing it up just behind Kyle Moisen, 9th out of 15 with a throw of 58.44 meters. So Kyle Moisen and Eric are very close to each other, obviously by their placements, but also where they're, I guess, ball. Is it a ball at the end of the hammer throw?
Yeah.
Where that lands, but you can see how far ahead Kyle Brown is from them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very good throw for him, and that's actually a little bit lower. It matches what he did last week, but it's a little bit lower than what he did in his very first meet.
Yep. So hopefully maybe he can get back up to that 65.13.
Hopefully so. Let's see. I think Jessica can round us out with the rest of throwing.
I'll finish the men. Men's javelin, we had Cade Antonucci placing 2nd out of 8 competitors with his best this outdoor season of 73.46 meters. Then Eric Ebel placing 6th with a throw of 61.28 meters. And Josh Wallace placing 7th with a throw of 55.09 meters.
Quite a bit of a drop off for Josh compared to his first one.
Yeah. Previously he threw 62.32 meters. So who knows?
But on the flip side, a pretty significant increase for Cade Antonucci.
Absolutely. So I guess you just never know.
Just take it and take what you can and leave what you can, I guess.
Moving on to men's discus, we've got Kyle's favorite, Kyle Moisen, with a 12th place finish out of 20 competitors and a 46.59 meter toss.
Before we move on to the women, a little bit of a tangent here. And I'm probably the one, now that I say this, mispronouncing his name, but I think you just don't want to say the way it's probably said.
Yeah, I'm not saying that.
Moisen.
Nope.
Say Moisen with me.
Nope, I hate that word.
Moisen.
Stop.
Yeah. All right, after that tangent, let's talk about the women events. Women's 100-meter dash. One competitor, Destiny Charles, 12th out of 17 with a run of 11.95 seconds. It's a much better run for her than her first event, which was about 2 weeks ago. The 200-meter dash, Destiny Charles again leading the way, 11 out of 32 competitors. A big event, just like with the men. 23.73 seconds was her time. This was also her best time of the year. Myra Mack was the next event person we had here, 30 out of 32. And then Patricia Moody, 32nd out of 32.
Actually, Patrice Moody,
excuse me. Myra had a time of 25.16 seconds.
Can we just take a minute?
Sure.
Myra Mack.
Yes.
Our thrower.
Yes.
Is now doing sprints.
Well, I remember this is
amazing.
She's probably going to be thinking about the athlon elites.
Anytime somebody who we know as one thing, like Myra, for doing the throwing, I'd love to see them in other events.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about this.
Well, and obviously, it's their second run for the year, and it was a little bit slower than the previous one. So she's at least kind of on track because it wasn't that much slower.
It's not that much slower. Less than 2 tenths. Yeah, 2 tenths of a second.
So maybe Coach threw her back in here in this meet to see, hey, let's see what you can do. And if you're pretty consistent, though, I wonder if she'll be competing much more in it.
Only time will tell.
But Destiny is the clear favorite in the 200-meter dash.
Yeah. So moving on to those middle distance events Kyle kind of touched on earlier, we've got Presley Weems in the 800-meter, placing 2nd out of 30 competitors with a time of 2 minutes, 4.6 seconds. Then Abby Zane placing 16th in 2 minutes, 14 seconds flat. And Samantha Rogers placing 17th in 2 minutes 14.3 seconds.
Obviously, Presley is the big story here, but look how close Abby and Samantha are together. I mean, obviously 16th and 17th place, but I mean, 0.3 difference between them and two. They were right behind each other.
And 16th and 17th out of 30 competitors. It's not like they were 16th and 17th out of 20.
Basically, I mean, it's not technically the top half, but it's pretty close. Yeah, I can count that. Yeah.
Okay, the women's 1500 meter. This is that Presley Weems run that got her the top mark nationally. That's what I wanted. And the school record. So obviously she got first place with a time of 4 minutes 14.3 seconds. Then we had Abby Zane placing 10th out of 23 competitors in 4 minutes 29.7 seconds, her best this season. And Frances Patrick placing 14th in 4 minutes 37.8 seconds.
And keep in mind for Presley, this was her first time competing in this event for outdoor season.
Yeah.
So if she does it again, if she's already this good, we might see a much better mark coming up soon.
Absolutely.
The 3,000 meter, we got Faith Bett, 14 competitors here. Faith got 4th out of 14. Again, a lot of competitors just outside the podium. Her time was 9 minutes 50.3 seconds, followed up by Frances Patrick, 6th out of the 14, 9 minutes 55.0 seconds. Sarah Pacer, 10th out of 14 with a time of 10 minutes 16.6 seconds. Also in the women's 100-meter hurdles, running and jumping, as Jessica loves so much. Natasha Jordan, a very familiar name for us in this event, 17th out of 27. Her time was 13.98 seconds.
Her best this season.
It's a very big improvement for her.
Yeah. So moving on to the women's 400-meter hurdles, we had Tyler Colbert with a 11th place finish out of 21 athletes, 61.11 second finish, and Nia Benton-Andrews placing 13th in 62.18 seconds. So little fun fact, when I was making these notes, I accidentally put that as the 400-meter dash. And I was like, wait a minute.
You missed that up a little bit.
Well, I thought, wait, something's wrong. These girls normally run a little bit faster. And I was like, hurdles. And then I'm like, holy crap, that's a great time for hurdles. Yeah, so there we are. Now we have the women's 4x100 meter relay. You know, relay event. Only one relay for both teams, but it is fine.
But it's still called the Florida Relays. Let it go. Be Elsa and let it go.
Tyler Colbert, Nia Benton-Andrews, Myra Mack, and Destiny Charles placing 7th out of 8 competitors or teams with a time of 45.53 seconds, which is actually 0.4 seconds faster than their last time.
Pretty big improvement. Mm-hmm.
I'm counting it as a win.
Do you consider that a big improvement in that time for them?
I consider it an improvement.
An improvement. Okay, obviously it's not, but at least it's an improvement.
It is.
Do you remember if this is the same group that ran previously?
It is not. But 3 of the 4 are exactly the same.
So
I just can't remember which one is different.
So
I want to say it's
variation.
Myra Mack. That's different. But I can't remember who it used to be. So I apologize.
You probably at least saw less variation than you saw with the men.
The men, they just changed up the order so much. That's what.
But even that matters so much.
It does. That was my soapbox.
I'm bringing you the soapbox back to stand on.
Yeah, just quit.
But obviously they have found a group maybe that probably is best fitted for this, especially with the improvement they saw there.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the jumping events, women's high jump. We already talked about it. Kamaya Dindi getting that gold out of 13 competitors. She won the whole event, 1.8 meter jump for her. Followed very closely by Caroline Lawrence. Second place overall, got the silver out of 13, 1.75 meters. That's her first event of the year too. Also for her first event, Natasha Jordan, 11th out of 13, 1.70 meter was her jump. So even at 11th, she wasn't too far behind Caroline Lawrence
Not
second.
At all.
In the pole vault, Lexi Leonweber, I think that's it.
I'm dead that you got Leonweber, but you couldn't get vault.
You know, you could just let that. I was looking at Leonweber and getting intimidated.
Bless your heart. You are struggling tonight.
Lexi Leonweber pole vault. 5th out of 9 competitors, 3.75 meters was her jump. So it's a little bit less than what she did previously at the meet back in Auburn 2 weeks ago.
So moving on to the throwing events, Kyle's favorite, so I kind of feel bad. But we had the women's shot put with Jocelyn Budwig placing 12th out of 21 competitors with a throw of 14.74 meters. Then we've got Mara Hewalt's 16th place finish in 14.54 meters. Neither of those ladies did their best, not horrible, but just not their top mark. And
Yeah.
then Tori McKinley placing 18th and 14.13 meters. Now, Tori's was kind of right in the middle of where she's been throwing, but Jocelyn and Myra, I look forward to seeing them do a little bit better.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about this in the last episode where we were kind of shocked how far back Tori fell in the second meet
Yeah.
of that performance. And so obviously she's bounced back a little bit, which is a good sign. But we've seen obviously this season that she's capable of much better. So we'll keep watching how that progresses.
So, women's discus, we had Jocelyn Budwig placing 12th out of 18 competitors with a throw of 48.70 meters, right in the middle of where she's been throwing this season. Mara Hewalt, her first time competing in outdoor discus, 13th place finish, 47.83 meters. And then Tori McKinley with an 18th place finish, and her best throw for the discus this season, 41.50 meters.
Yeah, it's it's interesting. We've kind of seen a lot of people fall like right in the middle of where they are, and some just like barely improve as well. The hammer throw, I'm going to round out the throwing events and all the events for the women. Maddie Malone leading the way with that first place finish out of 13 competitors with her throw of 65.81 meters, a big improvement from her last performance back in Auburn 2 weeks ago. Jocelyn Budwig, 9th out of 13, 55.31 meters was her throw. And that's another improvement for them. The ladies are clearly very strong in the hammer throw and a lot of the throwing events. Speaking of my girl Kylie Carter, first place out of 11 in the Javelin, 57.38 meters, just blowing away her previous marks on the season so far. Ashley Carter was 3rd out of 11th. Her throw was 52.74 meters, also improvements for her. And then Shania Holly, the first time we've seen her in a Javelin throw, 7th out of 11, 45.56 meter throw for her. So that's a nice, strong way to end out this meet.
Absolutely. So that's it for this week. So Auburn actually splits up and goes to 2 meets this coming weekend, which is always super fun to make notes for. So they will compete in the Tennessee Relays, April 8th through the 10th, and then some others will go to the Joe Walker Invitational, April 9th through 10th.
And I looked up where that is. It's in Ole Miss in Oxford, Mississippi.
There you go.
So
My
literally,
cousin's old stomping grounds.
I was going to say this opposite ends almost of Tennessee. I know technically it's in Mississippi, but
right.
Oxford
it
is so
is
close.
so
to
high, yeah.
So literally, it's like they leave Auburn, go straight up 65, and then kind of split off and go east and west
There
together.
you go. Well, that is it for this episode of Tiger Tracks. We thank you all for joining us. Hope to talk to you soon. War Eagle.
War Eagle.
Before you get out of here, we want to remind you of a couple of things. Head over to e2cnetwork.com, our website where you can find everything that you'll ever need from us, podcasts, blogs, and even ways to help support the show. If you want to find individual episodes, you can download all of these on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play. So until we see you again, I want to remind you of one thing, that here at the network, we believe in Auburn and love it. The only question remains, do you?